श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम्। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादशङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। शारदा शारदाम्भोजवदनावदनाम्बुजे सर्वदा सर्वदास्माकं सन्निधिं क्रियात्। वक्तारमासाद्य यमेव नित्या सरस्वती स्वार्थसमन्वितासीत्। निरस्तदुस्तर्ककळङ्कपङ्का नमामि तं शङ्करमर्चिताङ्घ्रिम्। शङ्कारूपेण मच्चित्तं पङ्कीकृतमभूद्यया किङ्करीयस्य सामाया शङ्कराचार्यमाश्रये। प्रह्लादवरदो देवो यो नृसिंहः परो हरिः। नृसिंहोपासकं नित्यं तं नृसिंहगुरुं भजे। श्रीसच्चिदानन्दशिवाभिनव्यनृसिंहभारत्यभिधान्यतीन्द्रान् विद्यानिधीन् मन्त्रनिधीन् सदात्मनिष्ठान् भजे मानवशम्भुरूपान्। सदात्मध्याननिरतं वृषगेभ्यः पराङ्मुखं नौमि शास्त्रेषु निष्णातं चन्द्रशेखरभारतीं। विवेकिनं महाप्रज्ञं धैर्यौदार्यक्षमानिधिं सदाभिनवपूर्वं तं विद्यातीर्थगुरुं भजे। भारतीकरुणापात्रं भारतीपदभूषणं भारतीपदमारूढं भारतीतीर्थमाश्रये। विद्याविनयसम्पन्नं वीतरागं विवेकिनं वन्दे वेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञं विदुशेखरभारतीम्। Namaste. So we were looking at Atma Bodha verse number 53. So we will just go back to that to revisit what we had last covered before starting off with the verses for today's session. Upadhi vilayad Vishnau nirvishesham vishen munihi jale jalam vyomni tejas tejasiva yatha. So here Shankaracharya is talking about Videha Mukti. So in the previous verses he had talked about the Jivan Mukti, the benefits of Jnanam being Avidya Nivritti, the removal of ignorance. Then he talked about Samsara Nivritti, Samsara as manifested in Ahamkara, Mamakara. So the cessation of the ending of the sense of I, the ego, and the sense of mama, the possessiveness. Then the end of raga dvesha, the dawn of knowledge, and atma prapti. So that was Jivan Mukti Shankaracharya had talked about. In this particular verse, Shankaracharya is talking about Videha Mukti. So what happens when the prarabdha, so karma we had seen was of three types. So there is the sanchita karma, that is the karma that has been accrued over all the births. So it's like the collection of all the karma that has been accrued to the jiva. So the jiva has accrued since time immemorial, since anadikalam. And then there is the agami karma. That is the karma that the jiva will accrue if he continues to be in samsara. So that is not, he has not attained those karmas yet, because he has to perform those actions and then get the results for it. So these are future karma phala. So that is the agami karma. And then there is a prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma is that portion of the sanchita which has fructified and manifested as this birth. So in this particular birth, a certain amount of karma karma phala will have to be experienced, and that is what is known as prarabdha. So once the jnani has taken a birth and then attains jnana, that is, it's not like jnani is taking birth, that is, the individual who is to attain jnana in this birth has taken a birth. So the prarabdha has started, and then through Guru Prapti, Savana, Manan, Nididhyasana, that individual becomes a jnani, he attains jnana. And so then he continues living as a Jivan Mukta in that life. And at the end of his life, that is when the prarabdha has ended, the body of the jnani falls. And so Shankaracharya says that that is the parantakalam, that is the ultimate end. It is the end. There is no further birth for the jnani because there is no karma left. So what jnana does is it destroys the sanchita karma. All the previously accrued karma has been destroyed. It will destroy the agami karma, the karma that is to come. And because prarabdha has already started, it will not destroy the prarabdha karma. So the prarabdha will continue And so jnana will not destroy the prarabdha karma which has already started giving the results. And so until that body remains, the jnani will continue. It'll as far as he is concerned, there is no he does not identify with the body. So for as far as he is concerned, the body is as though not there, but he still transacts with the body for the purpose of loka sangraha, for the purpose of teaching his disciples. For that, there is it's called avidya lesha. There is some avidya has been destroyed, but this prarabdha is that avidya lesha. Whatever tiny amount that has already started fructifying, that karma phala, that prarabdha still remains. And for so long as the prarabdha remains, the jnani will continue transacting with the world. And once the prarabdha ends, the jnani will drop the body, and then he becomes one with Brahman. And so this become is in double quotations. It's not an actual becoming. He is Brahman already. It is just like there is a pot, and inside the pot there is space. And just like when the pot breaks, it's as though the pot space has merged into the all-pervading space. Really speaking, there is no merger. But figuratively, we say pot space has become one with the all-pervading space. Similarly, the Jnani merges, so to speak, with Brahman, is what's being said here. And Shankaracharya gives three examples. He says, Jale Jalam, just like water merges with water. Vyad Yomni, just like space merges with space. This pot space example and the all-pervading space that we looked at. Tejas Tejasi, like light merging with light. So this we had seen in the previous session. So we will now look at the current session, which is the next verse. Yallabhan na paro labha yat sukhan na param sukham yajnana na parang jnanam tad brahmetyavadharayet. So this is verse number 54. So from these verses onward, Shankaracharya is going to talk about the glorification of jnana. So why should one seek jnana? He's again saying, it's like he's again saying what is the greatness of jnana. So he's outlining the greatness of jnana in these verses. So it is that and not just Shankaracharya, even the Upanishad itself has said it before. It says that it is very rare to find anyone interested in jnana. And even among those rare few, those that actually, that interest becomes so intense that it fructifies into jnana sadhana. That is, they engage in shravana, manana, nididhyasana, etc. And that is, of that very small people who are interested in jnana, those that engage in jnana sadhana is even smaller. And even amongst those that have engaged in jnana sadhana, those that have actually attained jnana is very, very, very rare. It is a small minority that actually attains this knowledge, one in several millions. The Kathopanishad says, Shravanayadapi bahubhir yona labhyaha Shinvantopi bahavo yamna vidyuhu Ashcharyo vakta kushalosya labdha Ashcharyo gyata kushalanusishtaha. Says, amongst those that have heard it, many people do not finding those people who are interested in knowing Brahman itself is very rare, and among those that have actually engaged in jnana sadhana is very rare. Among those who have attained jnana is even rare. And so Bhagavan Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschid yatati siddhaye. Amongst thousands of people, only very, very rarely you find people who actually engage in jnana sadhana. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mam veti tattvataha. So even amongst those that have actually engaged in jnana sadhana, those that really know me, Bhagavan Sri Krishna, when he says mam, he is referring to his Paramatma Tattva. Those that have really understand my true nature as Nirguna Brahma, and it is very, very, very few. So that's what Shankaracharya also saying. Yasman labhat, yallabhat, naparo labhaha. Here there are this aparaha. There are two ways to interpret this aparaha in these verses. So one interpretation is that there is nothing superior to this. So whenever you talk about superiority, there are two things. One which is at one level, and the second thing which is at a superior level. So when Shankaracharya says yan labhan naparo labha, he's saying the one interpretation of that quarter of a verse is that there is apart from this accomplishment, there is nothing else superior to this accomplishment. So there are many things that we consider to be purusharthas. The Shastra itself says dharma is a purushartha, artha is a purushartha, kama is a purushartha, and moksha is a purushartha. So among these four, the greatest purushartha is moksha purushartha. Why is it the greatest purushartha? Because upon the attainment of moksha, one has attained the infinite. So all the dharma, artha, kama, they give certain amounts of benefits. So dharma is very, very important because through dharma, one is on the path of what is right, and by engaging in what is right, one is in tune with the universe, and in doing that, one attains sukha. So the Veda says, do this, do not do this. So by following the vidhi and by avoiding those attributes forbidden by the Veda in the Nishedha, one is on the path of dharma and then on the path and avoids the path of adharma. And that path of dharma gives a great amount of material benefits. It gives a great amount of material peace, security, happiness. But then the Upanishad itself later says, Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmanoho nirvedamayat nasti akritah kritayana tad vijnanartham sa gurumeva bigachet shrotriyam brahmanishtam. Samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtam. That is, what it says is, Pariksha lokan. So, by closely examining the results of dharma, what the wise person realizes that even dharma, amongst kama, artha, and dharma is the greatest among these three. Among dharma, artha, and kama, dharma is the greatest because if artha is not earned, that is wealth is not earned in accordance with dharma, that will give great amount of problems. If the kama, if desire is not limited by dharma, such a desire gives great problems. Like how Ravana's desire, inappropriate desire for Sita led to a great anartha, led to great problems. Similarly, Duryodhana's desire for the kingdom, the adharmic desire for the kingdom, led to great problems. So, if therefore, dharma needs to be the controlling aspect for artha and kama. And adharmic artha, adharmic kama gives a benefit. But even dharma by itself, when you compare it with moksha, it is very, very finite. Because dharma gives finite results. Tetam bhuktva swargalokam vishalam kshine punye martyalokam vishanti. So, if you have attained a great amount of dharma, you go to Swargaloka, and in Swargaloka you enjoy a lot of benefits. But then, after enjoying those benefits, you have to come back to this sloka, or depending on your purva karma, you can even go to worse lokas also. So, the results of dharma also are finite, whereas moksha is infinite. And therefore, Shankaracharya says, Yallabha naparo labha, because the result of jnana is Brahman itself. Brahma Veda Brahmaiva Bhavati. The knower of Brahman is Brahman himself. And therefore, the sense of finitude, the sense of limitation that you have is given up. You lose that sense of limitation and you attain limitlessness, and therefore there cannot be anything that compares itself with infinity. Even a very, very large number is nothing compared to infinity. And therefore, Shankaracharya says, Yallabha naparo labhaha. So, that is one interpretation. That is, the result of jnana is much superior compared to anything else. Now, the other interpretation of aparaha is, apart from this, there is nothing else. That is the second interpretation of the word aparaha. That is, there is no other accomplishment that can be an accomplishment other than moksha. See, dharma, artha, and kama are good, but they are in the realm of samsara, whereas moksha is paramartha. So, and samsara is ultimately mithya, and paramartha satyam is absolutely real. Whereas this, upon the dawn of knowledge, there is nothing else apart from Brahman. Therefore, there any such attainment other than Brahman is not an attainment at all. So that is other than the accomplishment, other than Brahmalabha, the attainment of Brahman, there is nothing else. Yallabha naparo labha. That is the second interpretation. So what is the first one? First interpretation was compared to the attainment of Brahman, there is nothing else that is equal to Brahman. That is Brahman, the attainment of Brahman is the superior, most superior. The second interpretation is there is nothing else apart from the attainment of Brahman. Okay. So next one we'll look at Yat Sukha Naparam Sukham. That is, there is no pleasure greater than this. That's the first interpretation. Why is that? So in worldly pleasures, there are many things which appear to be great. So one job appears to be great, one house appears to be great, the certain pleasures appear to be great. But once we actually come near it, it doesn't appear. The reality is that that doesn't give you that much happiness. We realize that it's actually not that pleasurable. But Brahman is the source of all bliss. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma Vijnanam Anandam Brahma, the Upanishad says. That is, there is, apart from Brahman, there is no other pleasure, is the second interpretation. That is, why is that? Because every single pleasure that you have, any worldly pleasure that is there, is simply a, minute minute version of this ultimate pleasure, this infinite pleasure. That is, this is the supreme pleasure that exists, and all other pleasures are merely reflections of this Brahman. How do we say that? Now, if you look at any object that we attain, we say this object gives me happiness. But if you really look at it, what this object does is that before the object was there, the mind was really agitated, and that in that agitated state, the mind is incapable of reflecting our true nature, which is of bliss. Now, when we attain the object of desire, what happens is that the mind calms down. That, and how does it calm down? Because that desire is satisfied temporarily. So when the desire that is satisfied temporarily, the mind that was agitated becomes calm for a bit, and then it is better able to reflect our true nature back to ourselves. And therefore we say, I am happy. So it is not that the object has given us happiness. Rather, the attainment of the object has temporarily pacified us, allowing the mind to better reflect. So just like the if there is a pond and in that pond there is a lot of disturbance, there is like a rock has fallen into the pond, and then there are ripples created, and when the waters are like agitated because of these ripples, the pond is not able to reflect our own face back to us. But when after some time, when the ripples die down and the water is still, that still water, we are able to see our reflection. Similarly, our true nature is of infinite bliss. When we attain some object, any worldly object, our mind becomes calm and it is able to better reflect our own happiness back to ourselves. And therefore, Shankaracharya says, apart from our true nature as bliss, there is nothing else that is actually called bliss. And that's what he says, Yat Sukhat Naparam Sukham. And then, Yad Jnanat Naparam Jnanam. So there is no knowledge greater than this. So there is in this Sanat Kumara Narada Samvada. So Narada in the Chandogya Upanishad, there is a story where Narada, who is a Deva Rishi, he has he himself says, I have done so much of studies, I have knowledge of so many different things, but still I am not happy. Still I don't have peace, I don't have mental satisfaction. And then he says, I have heard from other great Mahans that the knower of Atma transcends sorrow. Tarati Shokam Atmavit. And then he goes to Bhagavan Sanat Kumara and says, Oh Bhagavan, I have heard that the knower of Atma transcends sorrow. Can you please teach me this Atma? So, what does that mean? That is, the Atma Jnana is superior to all the Jnanas. That is such a great Jnani, such as Narada himself, who has the knowledge of all the Aparavidya, he comes to Sanat Kumara and says, Oh God, give me Paravidya, give me the supreme knowledge. And by that supreme knowledge, let me transcend sorrow. So, what does that mean? That means Atma Jnana is the greatest knowledge. Now, that is one interpretation. The second interpretation of Apara is there is no other knowledge apart from Atma Jnana. How is that possible? So we have knowledge of physics, we have knowledge of maths. How can you say that apart from Atma Jnana there is no other Jnana? What it actually means is that apart from Atma, everything else is Mithya. So, see, when you look at a rope and mistake it for a snake, there are two things that are erroneous there. The knowledge that there is a snake is erroneous. So the Sarpajnana is erroneous. The Sarpa is also erroneous. That is why the Sarpa is called Arthadhyasa and the Sarpajnana is called Jnanadhyasa. So there are two kinds of Adhyasa. The Arthadhyasa and the Jnanadhyasa. That is why we say there is an object, there is a snake there, we say. What we mean by that is the object of that is the Sarpa there. We think there is a real snake there. And we also think there is a snake there. That there are two things. There is a snake. I know there is a snake. So the Artha is Mithya, the Jnana is Mithya also. So just like Anatma is Mithya, Anatma Jnana also is Mithya. And therefore, there is no Jnana apart from Atma Jnana. So this is what Shankaracharya is saying, and he says, Tad Brahma ityavadharayet. So, know Brahma to be that apart from the attainment of that Brahman, apart from that, there is no other attainment. Know that to be Brahman, which is Sukha, and apart from that, there is no other Sukha. Nalpe Sukham asti. Yo vai Sukham tad bhuma. Nalpe Sukham asti. So, this is what again in the Sanat Kumara Narada Samvada, it says, no Bhuma. Here Bhuma, the word Bhuma in that Bhuma Vidya, in that Sanat Kumara Narada Samvada, refers to Brahman. So, Bhuma is that which is Sukha, and there is no Sukha possible at all in Alpa, is what Sanat Kumara teaches Narada. Similarly, that's what Shankaracharya says, Yat Sukhat Naparam Sukham Tad Brahma iti avadharayet. No Brahman to be that, apart from which there is no other Sukham. That Brahman is that Sukham, apart from which there is no other Sukham. Yad Jnanat, Brahma Jnanat, Aparam Jnanam Nasti, Yad Jnanat Naparam Jnanam, Tad Brahma iti avadharayet. So, this is what Shankaracharya said in this particular verse. We will now look at the next one. Verse number 55. Yadrishtva naparam drishyam yadbhutva na punarbhavaha yadgyatva naparam jneyam tadbrahmetyavadharayet. So again, similar idea is being conveyed. Yadrishtva, having seen Brahman, naparam drishyam, there is nothing superior to it that can be seen. That is, once you know Brahman, there is nothing that is equal to Brahman. It is the greatest, and therefore there is no other drishya which can equal to its glory. The second meaning is, having seen Brahman, there is nothing else to see. That is, this is the Sarvatma Bhava. Brahmava idamagrasit tad atmanamavet aham brahmasmiti tad sarvam abhavat. That means what? This is in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, in the fourth Brahmana of the first Adhyaya, this is where the Mahavakya comes. Aham Brahmasmi Mahavakya comes in this place. It is Brahmavayatamagra Asit. So the Jiva was there. The Jiva, who was Brahma reality, was present before. Agre Asit. Then that Atma Avet. The Jiva knew himself as what? Aham Brahmasmiti. As I am Brahma. And once he knew Brahma, that Sarvam Abhavat, he realized that he was everything. So, apart from himself, there is nothing else. Again, this is also this another interesting thing is in the Tirumandiram also. There's the same idea comes. Marattil maraindadu Mamadayanai, Marattil maraindadu Mamadayanai, Marattai maraittada Mamadayanai, Parattai maraittada Parmudal Budangale, Parattil maraindadu Parmudal Budangale. That is, there was an elephant in a forest. Now, when the person first saw that elephant in the forest, he got immediately scared, not knowing it was a wooden elephant. So, in the Ajnana Dasha, when the person was ignorant of the elephant's true nature, what happened? That elephant had hidden the wood, the substance by which it was made. So the elephant's reality was real to the seer, but the wood's reality was not known. The reality of the elephant as the wood was not known. But once that person saw that it was made of wood, then he realized that there was no elephant only. So, Marattil maraindadu Mamadayani. And then, Parattai maraittada Parmudal Budangale. That is, the Supreme Brahman, Param Brahma, was hidden in this world. All we saw was this infinite variety. And so we did not see Paramatma. But once you know Aham Brahmasmiti, that's Sarvam Abhavat. Once you have Atma Jnana, you realize that apart from Atma, there is nothing else. All that exists is Atma only. That is, the existence in anything is I, the Brahma. The Satchidananda Atma is the existence of everything. The table exists, the computer exists, the chair exists, this human body exists, the TV exists, the world exists, the Ishvara exists. The existence in everything is Brahma. And apart from that existence, so if you take that existence, what remains? There's nothing there. There is no world. Tat kena kampashet. What will you see with what? There is nothing to be seen. Because everything that is there is the drik only. There is no drishya. That's why yad drishtva naparam drishyam. And then yad bhutva na punarbhavaha. So until this Brahmagyana has not attained, is not risen, one is constantly in the pursuit of things, in the pursuit of happiness, in the pursuit of becoming, because this thing is finite. You think this human body, this human being, as long as you think I am a human being, you're always in a struggle to become something else. I want to become this, I want to become better, I want to improve this, I want to change this, I do not like this about myself. So there's this constant struggle to become. But once you have become Brahma, that is what, and I say it in quotes, because this is not real becoming. We are always Brahman, we did not know it. So once we know it, we have become Brahman, so to speak. In the Ajnana Dasha, Brahman was something to be attained. In the Jnana Dasha, you are always Brahman, even before. So once you have become Brahman, there is no other becoming left. You have become Kritakritya. Whatever is to be attained has been attained. Because what? There is nothing else apart from you. So there is nothing else to become into. The reason why you are constantly struggle to becoming things, to becoming a different version of yourself, become the best version of yourself. You keep seeing all these self-help things, books. What does that mean? It's because there is a sense of insecurity, there is a sense of limitation with our current nature, with our current positions, with our current body, with our current personality. Once you have become all and there is nothing else apart from you, what is there to become? There is nothing else to attain. Because you are perfect as it is. Once you realize that your true nature is perfect as it is, there is no struggle to become anything else. And that's what Shankaracharya says, Yad bhutva na punarbhavaha. Once you have become Brahman, there is no struggle to become anything else. Because whatever is to be there, you have attained it. And similarly, Yadgyatpa na param gayam. We have seen this in the previous thing itself. Knowing which there is nothing else to know, tad brahma ityavadharayet. Okay. We'll look at the next verse. Verse number 56. तिर्यगूर्ध्वमदः पूर्णं सच्चिदानन्दमद्वयम् अनन्तं नित्यमेकं यत् तद्ब्रह्मेत्यवधारयेत्. So, तिर्यगूर्ध्वमदः पूर्णं. So, Brahman is absolutely complete. Tiryak means in all directions. Urdhvam is above, adha below. That is, I, the Brahma, who am Purnam, who is limitless. It's Desha, Kala, Vastu, Paricheda Rahita. That is, he is free from limitations in space. He is everywhere. I am everywhere, rather. Then I am free from Kala Paricheda. I am eternal. In no point of time was I not there. And then what? Vastu Paricheda. There is no other object apart from me. There is no object. There is only me. Everything is me. And therefore, there is nothing can be said to be different from me. And when I say me, what do I mean? I do not mean some finite individual. I do not mean the physical body. I do not mean the mind. I mean Satchidananda Atma. That Satchidanandam Advayam, Shankaracharya says. That Satchidananda Advaya is Purdam. He is Tiryagurdha Madaha. He is everywhere. Limitless in all directions, in all times, in all objects. That in completeness is Satchidananda, is Sat, the existence. It is the isness, the existence of everything is Sat. The consciousness, the light of consciousness in every jiva, and the which is manifest as a jiva, as a being, and which is unmanifest in the table, chair, etc. Why? Because there's no reflecting medium in these things. That all-pervading consciousness, the ananda, the all-pervading bliss that I am completely limitless, and I am advayam. There is no second thing other than I. From the standpoint of the Atma, which is everything, there is no other thing. It's only from the standpoint of the jiva, limited jiva, that there are other things. But from the standpoint of the Satchidananda Atma, there is nothing else. And Anantam, infinite, Nityam, eternal, Ekam. Ekam, Advayam are almost similar, but there's a subtle difference. One, there is a negation of Sajatiya Bheda, in the other one, there's a negation of Vijatiya Bheda. What is Sajatiya, Vijatiya Bheda? So we say Brahman is Sajatiya, Vijatiya, Swagata Bheda Rahita. So Sajatiya Bheda means there is no other entity of the same jati as Brahman. And what is that? There is no other conscious being apart from Brahman. There are no two conscious entities. There's only one conscious entity, and that's Atma. So that is Sajatiya Bheda Rahitatva. The absence of another entity like it, of the same class as Brahman. Then there is Vijatiya Bheda Rahitatvam. That means there is no other entity belonging to another class. Apart from consciousness, there is nothing else. There is no matter. It is not that there is matter and there is spirit or consciousness. There is only a consciousness. So there is Vijatiya Bheda Rahitatvam also. So the negation of both the Sajati and Vijatiya Bheda is what is being referred to in this verses in the Advayam and the Ekam. So essentially the direct meaning is the same, but there is a slight difference in the two ideas. And that is Yat Tat, whatever is that is Brahma. Avadharayati, avadharayat. Know this very clearly. That is Brahma. Is what Shankaracharya is saying. So now we look at the next verse, verse number 57. Atadvyavritti-rupena vedantairlakshyate dvayam akhandanandamekam yat tadbrahmetyavadharayet. So we will look at the the second line in this first. Right? Brahma is akhanda. So here the third kind of Veda, the Swagata Veda, is being denied. That is, Swagata Bheda means there is no internal difference in Brahman. So just like in a body, there are different parts. So there is an eye, there is a head, there is a hand, there is a leg, there is a torso, etc. So there are different parts within one entity. So there is internal difference. But like that, there is no difference in Brahman. It is consciousness through and through. It's existence through and through. It's bliss through and through. There are no parts. Satya, Chit, Ananda are not parts of Brahman. Sadeva Chit Chideva Ananda, Satyischit Chittis Ananda. There is no, it is not three different parts of it or three aspects of it. The same thing has three the nature also is like an unalloyed nature. It is a homogeneous nature as such Chit Ananda. It is there is no internal difference within Brahman. It is, and that's why it's called Akhandam. And then Anandam is bliss. Ekam we already seen on. So now then he says Vedantair Lakshyate. This is the non-dual Brahman which is revealed by all the Upanishads. So the question then becomes is, how does Vedanta reveal this? And Shankaracharya says Atadvyavritti Rupena. So Vedanta reveals this by the negation of everything apart from it, everything other than that. Every object is negated through this neti neti. That is, it is not this, it is not this, it is not this, it is not this. Every single object is negated. And so when every single object is negated, whatever remains is what? Is the subject. If every object of experience is negated, what remains is not shunyam. Because there is a person who is witnessing the absence of objects also. And what is that person? That Purusha, Parama Purusha is Atma, the unchanging witness, the Sakshi. So what remains is the unchanging witness of experience. And so by those Nishedha Vakya, all the Upanishads Lakshyate indirectly refer to Brahman. So what does this Lakshyate mean? Now, there are a few ways in which verbal sentences or words can refer to things. So there's a pada and there's a padartha. There's a pada means a word. Padartha means the meaning of that word. So the relationship between a pada and a padartha can be in different ways. So there is a, so if I say this is a pot and I show a pot and say this is a pot. So the word pot and the object pot have a direct connection, direct connotation. And that direct connotation is called a shakyartha or a vachyartha, the direct connotation, direct meaning. And then there is another connotation called lakshyartha. The lakshyartha is the indirect connotation. So, where you say Gangayam Ghoshaha, that is the hut on the Ganga. Now, what does the word Ganga mean here? The word Ganga refers to the direct meaning of Ganga is what? The Vachyartha of Ganga is the river Ganga. But in this sentence, Gangayam Ghoshaha, can the word Ganga refer to its Vachyartha, the direct meaning? That is the river. How can there be a hut in the river? If there was a hut in the river would just push the hut and the hut would just flow downstream. So what here the word Ganga means is not the river itself, because the Nadi Pravaha will blow the hut away or will push the hut away. What the word Ganga here means, the bank of the Ganga, Ganga Tira. Tire, Ganga Tire, Ghoshaha Asti. So Gangayam Ghoshaha means the Ganga Shabda is referring not to its Vachyartha meaning the river, but to its lakshyartha or the indirect or the secondary meaning. So the lakshyartha of the word Ganga is the Ganga Tira. Now Shankaracharya is saying the Vedanta refers to Brahman, not Brahman is not the Vachyartha of the Upanishads. It is the Lakshyartha of the Upanishads. It does not directly tell Brahman, it indirectly tells Brahman. So, why should Upanishads indirectly tell Brahman, if we ask? There are some challenges with the direct connotation of Brahman. It is not possible to directly connote Brahman because if there is something which reveals Brahman, that is, if Brahman is the direct object of any word, then there will be a duality between the revealer and the revealed. So there are two things. There is a sentence that reveals Brahman, and then there is Brahman. That will lead to Dvaita. So if I say, I know a pot, there is a pot and there is I. So there is a subject-object duality there. So if there is any word that directly denotes Brahman, then it would lead to Dvaita. So any knowledge is only possible in the empirical plane, in the Vyavaharika. And the object that is known in the empirical plane is also empirical. It is not Paramarthika Satyam. And in the Paramarthika Satya plane, the Paramarthika plane, in the ultimate absolute plane, there is no other thing apart from Brahman. So, in the Vyavaharika plane, Brahman cannot be known because then there would be subject-object duality, and whatever is known in the Vyavaharika plane cannot be the absolute Brahman because the Kena Upanishad says, Nedam yadidam upasate. So that which you worship is not Brahman. It is not something that can be known. It says. It is beyond known. Anyadeva tad viditat atho aviditat adhi. It is different from the known, it is different from the unknown. That means what? It cannot be something which is revealed directly by the Upanishads. So that is the first problem. That is, if Brahman is directly denoted by the Upanishads, then there will be a subject-object duality. There will be a pramana-prameya duality. So that is not possible. The absolute Advaita Brahma cannot be known through the Upanishads, directly denoted by the Upanishads. Secondly, Brahma is asanga. It is relationless. Asangoyam purushaha. So, it is absolutely relationless. There can be no attachments, no connections, no sambandha with Brahman. No, if anything reveals Brahman directly, then there is a revealer sambandha directly. There is a sambandha there. It's a pramana prameya sambandha will come if there is a direct relationship. And therefore, because absolute Brahman is relationless, there can be nothing that reveals it also directly. That is the second problem. Then the third problem is that in our Shastra, for any word to denote a particular object, it can only do so in a certain number of ways. And there are like 5 different ways that it has been enumerated in Shastra. So, first is as a jati. So, when we say the word go, that is in Sanskrit, go means cow. So, gauhu it refers to a cow. No, when you say I know a cow, okay, we are not talking about one particular cow. I know a cow means what? I do not mean this cow called Lakshmi. What I mean is I know what is a cow. So that I know the Gotva Jati. So the word Gauhu there or the word cow there refers to the universal of cows. That is, there is something called a cow, and I know When I look at an animal, I'll be able to say, okay, that is a cow. That means what? I know the jati, the universal. Or it can be a kriya. It can refer to a word. A word can refer to an object as a through some action. So if you like, for example, a cook. A cook is who? A cook is someone who cooks. So there's an action involved there, and through the action, that word denotes that object. The word cook denotes the object through the action of cooking. A person who cooks is a cook. So that's the second way. Kriya. Then there's a guna, there's some attribute. So you know something by its attributes. So a rose is red. A rose smells fragrant. A rose has thorns. All of these are what? Thorniness, fragrance, redness. These are all gunas or attributes of this rose. So you can refer to an object by its attributes through the gunas. Or there can be a sambandha. So he is my father, he is my son, she is my wife, all of those things. So that is a sambandha. So, and finally is rudhi, common knowledge. So you know something, it can refer to by common knowledge. In our context, well, it means something which is accessible to the senses is has a that word can denote that object through popularity. It is known, well known, prasiddhatvam. No, in the case with Brahman, none of these five criteria will actually work. That Brahman cannot be a jati because a jati is only possible when there are multiple vyaktis or individuals. So only when there are multiple cows will the jati of cowness make sense. But Brahman is only one. There is no other Brahman. There are no two Brahmans. So there cannot be any Brahmatva jati. There is no kriya because Brahman is actionless. So you cannot know Brahman through some connection with an action. Then Brahman is nirgunam. There is no attribute so that you can point to and say that is, oh, Brahman is this, Brahman is that. You cannot say all these things because there is no, it's attributeless. There is no sambandha also. We saw it's asangoyam, I am purushaha. And then it is not that it is a rudhi, that's a commonly understood popular meaning of Brahman also, that is not there. So therefore, because of these reasons, no words can directly denote Brahman because Brahman is not an object that can be denoted by words. And therefore, how else can words reveal? How can words reveal that which is unrevealable? So Shankaracharya says here there is one particular way, it is by atadvyavritti. That's the first word here in this verse. Atadvyavritti rupena vedantair lakshyate dvayam. The non-dual Brahman is indirectly referred lakshyate by Vedantaihi, by Vedantas. All the Upanishads indirectly refer to Brahman. How? Atadvyavritti rupena, neti neti rupena. By denying all that is not true, by denying the anatma, everything that is not the anatma, everything that is anatma is being denied. This Atma is not the body. Atma is not this world. Atma is not this mind. Atma is not Ajnana also, because of which the mind, the body, and the world appears. So what else is there? All of these, that because of which I know the body, that because of which I know the mind, that because of which I know the intellect, that because of which I know the prana, that because of which I know the universe, that is Atma. So the denial of all the objects, what it culminates in is the Atma. That is the atadvyavritti rupena. The tat means that, atat means not that. Atadvyavritti means the denial of that which it is not. By denying what it is not, Brahman is revealed. Now a question may be asked, In that case, isn't it the case that there is nothing, there is shunya? See, if everything is denied, isn't zero, shunyata, emptiness that is left? And Vedanta says, no. How can you say there is emptiness? Because to know that there is emptiness also, there needs to be a conscious entity, no? If you keep denying everything, who is there to deny the denier? The denier remains after all the denials. That consciousness that denies everything is what remains, and therefore it is not a shunya vastu, it is not a zero. And the atadvyavarti rupena yat vedantaihi lakshyate tad brahma iti avadharayet. Know Brahma to be that which is indirectly referred to by the denial of that which it is not. So Shankaracharya has said that in this particular verse. This is a slightly technical verse, so we spent a little bit of time in this particular verse. We will look at further verses in the next session. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.